Making his debut at number 20, CJ Stroud. He wasn't on the list last year. The number 20 spot means CJ is only behind Mahomes, Lamar, Josh, Dak, and Jalen. His rookie season, he was first in yards per game. He was first in touchdown interception ratio. Yards per pass, he was third. Big plays, he was third. In passer rating, he was fifth. Broody, you like the idea that Stroud is already top 20?
I mean, look, obviously, he's got to go out and basically duplicate it or play close to that or better this year. But I think based on, like last year, he was a top 20 player. I think you have to give him that. Yeah. And he's going to have a better running game this year, I think, with Joe Mixon. Better receivers. Tank Dell, who got hurt, is there, obviously. And now you got Stephon Diggs. So, yeah, I think, I mean, unless he falls flat on his face, and I don't see any reason with his character, his work ethic, the coaching staff, the additions that I just mentioned, I don't see any reason he should fall on his face. And he kind of played in like a little pro-style offense at Ohio State. So he's been, you know, it's not just something he picked up last year. He's kind of been playing that way. So I think he'll stay in the top.
Uh-oh.
I know the hype machine is in full force, and I know that Nick consistently complains that I'm too late instead of too early on viewing quarterbacks. But you do need to see a body of work. So let's take a little blind reveal.
Oh, wow.
Let's see if we can figure out another quarterback that was on the hype machine. Almost identical statistics here to CJ Stroud.
That was a rookie year?
This was the rookie year that everybody said this was going to be game-changing.
This is RG3?
Can we go ahead?
Okay, RG3
I'm not good at my
knee got turned around backwards.
You're saying that's the only thing that
No, I also think he got
his head got big. Now, CJ was out there this summer. He was all over the place.
Pretty consistent statistics.
Also the Shanahan system, so you
can
have that as well. You can slow it. No, okay. All right, that I think is too
RG3 was not the passer, CJ. Would you agree with that?
We have identity.
I mean, the numbers.
This was going to. It was game changing. It was. It was very similar to the flowers that we're giving CJ. And look, I respect what CJ did, especially as a rookie. It's really hard to do. He changed the trajectory of the organization, but so did RG3 at that point. They were coming off a 5-11 season, and he changed that in Washington at that point.
All right, that's fair. And I know, like Coach said, the coach will be, would rather miss the train by 3 days than be 5 minutes early. Meanwhile,
Nixon up at the airport.
Yeah,
like
exactly right. I'm like an old person going on a trip. I like to be nice and early. So I agree with everything Bruce said, and I'll go a step further. I think it's on the board that when this poll happens next year, he's the second quarterback on it.
Yeah, because we think he's an MVP
candidate. Yeah, I think
he's better than Lamar Jackson.
I think that it's. I think that it's on the board that next year. Just by the way, Jalen Hurts all of a sudden went from unranked, I think to number 3, but the number 2 quarterback. I think that CJ, the Texans have treated this, in my opinion, very smartly, which is quarterback's cheap, so let's not wait. We've got him. We played him. We trust our coach. Yep. We've drafted well on defense. They have 2 studs in Stingley and Will Anderson. The Autry suspension hurts him, but he'll be back. And let's add Diggs, add weapons, go right now. And if they find themselves, if he gets the honor of losing the Arrowhead Invitational and has a great year, then all of us, I think that people could look at him and be like, oh, he's the second best quarterback in football. I'm not saying I think that now. And I don't think he is the second best quarterback in football right now. But I think that spot is open. I think Lamar's playoff failures work against him. I think Josh's inability to beat either of his primary rivals in the biggest games work against him. And I think CJ, you can say this unfair, I think CJ just winning a playoff game last year as a rookie is on a free roll from what happened after that. I know they lost to Lamar after that.
Yeah, it's kind
but just because
slate,
he's a rookie. Yeah. And so I think that if they're excellent this year, Wildes, and he's great again, people are going to say, why isn't he one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in football?
I guess so.
I would definitely.
Okay. That's like the end of the clip, at least for this one. And then it cuts to like a different segment entirely. So, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with everything Nick said, except for what he kind of threw in there about Josh Allen. It's not Josh Allen's inability. I'm not going to go on a whole Josh Allen rant. We're going to focus on CJ Stroud, but you can't just throw in a dig at Josh Allen. It's not Josh Allen's inability to beat those people. It's the Bills. The Bills' fault. Nothing to do with Josh Allen. But let's focus on CJ Stroud. And I also am the type of person who shows up to an airport insanely early because I have anxiety and I don't want to miss the flight, and I don't got the money to be able to miss a flight and then have to buy another one. So and anytime I'm ever flying, it's usually because it's something like really, really important, because I'm not like a traveler. So it's like I definitely show up mega early. So I thought that was pretty funny, especially because you're either going to be waiting at the airport or waiting at home. So you may as well just wait at the airport and, be safe. Better be safe than sorry. But anyway, I really do agree with Nick with regards to this because, and I've been saying this for a while, that the Texans are doing everything they can to support CJ Stroud and just their team as a whole, right? They are just making every great decision that they possibly can, right? They have the coaching on both sides of the ball locked and loaded, from Bobby Slowick as the offensive coordinator, and of course, obviously, their head coach, who's obviously not going anywhere anytime soon. But, you could lose someone like a Slowick, so it's great that they have him locked in there with CJ Stroud. You get that continuity. That matters. They have some nice pieces around CJ Stroud already, then they added more. And then also to make his offense a little bit easier, they're like, let's beef up the defense, right? We've been over this a lot every time we talk about CJ Stroud and the Texans. And so it's hard to imagine that they're not going to have a great season. And yes, I think winning a playoff game does matter. And the truth is, because Wildes, I think it was Wildes or Brew just said, they were like, he's going to be above Lamar Jackson. And you have to understand that when we see these rankings, which is why I don't like rankings. I don't buy into rankings. I don't care about the numbers. I put them in tiers and groups like I always tell you guys. But if we're just going to kind of play this game, when I do it, I try to think of how other people think about it. Whether it's fans, whether it's the actual voters, whether it's media members or other players, I try to put myself in their mind and think of how they're thinking about all of it. And it's all so narrative based. There are some biases. Like it's not just a science. It's not just this guy has 50 touchdowns, this guy has 40 touchdowns, therefore this guy's better. It's not the way it works. It's a few different variables that we kind of just mix and match and kind of choose when we want to apply them versus not. But we know that the narrative right now is overwhelmingly against Lamar Jackson in terms of playoff success. That is a massive, massive, massive stain. Whether you want to say it's all on him or not, and I've defended him, it's still against him. That is a huge stain on him. And CJ Stroud, first year, boom, won a playoff game convincingly at that. And it's like, yeah, there we go. And he's kind of given the pass when he loses that next game against Lamar Jackson, because it's like, well, he's a rookie. Like, Lamar Jackson, you better ball out in that game. The Ravens better win that game. You have an established head coach who's been coaching for years, a Super Bowl winner. You're going up against a rookie head coach and a young team. Like, you better win this game. You better. So it's just like no one holds the Texans' feet to the fire for that regard, especially CJ Stroud. But I'm imagining that CJ Stroud and the Texans are going to have a great season. He's at the top of my list for MVP candidate. As well as I have to imagine that they're going to win a playoff game or two or more, maybe, right? And if that's the case, yeah, people are going to say, sure, Lamar Jackson has some numbers. Sure, Lamar Jackson has multiple MVPs. Sure, Lamar Jackson really just jumps off the screen. CJ Stroud is a winner. CJ Stroud has the numbers and he's got the wins. He's winning playoff games. He's 3-1 in the playoffs. He's 2-1, whatever it ends up being. That's what's going to be used as to elevate him and highlight him even more. Right or wrong, it's just going to be the way it is. So that's why evaluating these quarterbacks in terms of a ranking system is always complicated, because it always depends on what team are you on, what division you have, what's your conference, like what are the circumstances. There's just so many different situations, which is why I put them in groups. I wouldn't necessarily put CJ Stroud ahead of Lamar, but I put him in that category as Lamar. I put them all in that category. Maybe in a category above Lamar, truthfully. I think CJ Stroud is a better processor and a better game manager. I'm not saying that CJ Stroud is a game manager, but he has the ability to manage the game more successfully than a Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson can, of course, do certain things that CJ Stroud has not shown to be able to do. But if you ask me right now and said you have to pick a quarterback right now, I understand you have uneven sample sizes, but you have to pick right now. Who are you going to pick? I would lean towards CJ Stroud. I just would. It's not to say that Lamar Jackson is an unbelievable quarterback. And like I said, I have many videos defending him until I'm blue in the face. I blame Baltimore more for his lack of success than him himself. I do think Lamar Jackson is a great electric quarterback. But I think you need to be able to do both. Think you need to be able to have those electric moments, and you need to learn how to manage games. It is something that Patrick Mahomes does unbelievably well. And it's so understated, his game managing abilities. And granted, a lot of it is being coached by Andy Reid and just being instilled with that philosophy and identity to saying, you need to be able to do this. But CJ Stroud kind of already has that. He's kind of come into the league with that ability. And I think it's awesome, right? It's such an important thing to be able to do. And he's demonstrated that he's able to do it. So, maybe that ends up being completely wrong and CJ Stroud really just kind of turns into an average quarterback. I don't see it. I think it's kind of unfair and disingenuous of Mangini doing that with RG3. We know a lot of things went wrong with RG3. It was also a different era. It is. I know it was similar. I know it was only, 12 years ago? But it was literally different rules in the NFL, different philosophy, offensive philosophies and identities that were developed. It was different football. Go watch football games from 2012. If it wasn't so much for like the quality of the film and just kind of like their uniform style and like how people were dressed, if you just were able to neutralize all that and watch each game and how they're played, you would be able to tell the difference of the games. You would just see it. You could just see how the games are called, how the plays are designed. It's just different football. So I always take issue when we're comparing, different generations. And even if it's just like 5, 6, 7, 8 year gaps, it's just different football. What Dak was doing his rookie year is different from what he's doing now. It's just different. Like I said, the rules, the catch rule, what's an actual catch has changed. Okay. So it's just the rules are different. And yeah, RG3 did legitimately get injured, and I don't really have any desire to kind of talk about RG3 or talk about his career personally. I just think it was an unfair blind reveal, and I always think blind reveals are so absurd, because like I said, a lot went wrong with RG3, and just because CJ Stroud had a great year, and I do understand though what Mangini is saying, and I will then defend that after I kind of just ripped it apart, of this idea of you rather be late than early. And I do agree from a coaching perspective, from someone who's a fan. If I wasn't making this type of content, like I am also very slow in that regard. I do feel the pressure to kind of sometimes get to a definitive conclusion or view or take about someone. I also can understand that sometimes it's really fun to say that I think someone's going to be great before everyone else does. And you do get to say, I've been saying this. Look at the tape. I've been saying this. Like, it does feel good, and fans like it, and subscribe, viewers like it. And it, it can be fun to predict those things, right? But like in mostly all other aspects of life, it's better to be patient. It's better to be like, all right, let's just wait. But since there's no stakes involved with sports, we can all just kind of jump to any conclusions we want. So it is a little bit fun. And again, if you're completely wrong, it doesn't actually really matter. It doesn't actually affect any of our lives. So I have been getting a little bit more comfortable kind of trying to push that, but I'm definitely not going to make any claims that I don't believe in just because I want to be first. I just watched a little clip with Colin Cowherd that I've been meaning to actually put up here, where Colin said, I don't care. He goes, I don't care or try to necessarily be right all the time. I just want to be having the right conversation. And that I wholeheartedly agree with. That is like, and that's, why he's my, my favorite out there, because it's not a matter of what's right or wrong. It's like, are we just discussing the right topic? And that's why this idea of us trying to have to discuss, will CJ Stroud be like the second best quarterback? It doesn't matter to me. To me, the right conversation is, will CJ Stroud be a great quarterback in the NFL? I don't care if we consider him above Lamar, right below Mahomes. I just think, can we reach the conclusion that he's going to be a great quarterback? And to me, I based off of the team that he's on, the team around him, the coaching staff around him, and what I've seen him do individually, I'm very confident in drawing the conclusion Yes, I don't think it's too early just because we want to see him play more. We can always use that as an example. We can always say that I would like to see more. You could have said that about Patrick Mahomes his first year. You could say that about Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, anyone. There's every single quarterback you could say, well, I kind of want to wait a little bit and see some more games. Well, yeah, obviously, right? In a perfect world, we would do that, but that's not fun. What's the point of that? So, based off of what I've seen, I really do believe that he's a top quarterback, and I think he will be a legitimate MVP candidate because I think the Texans will be legitimately fighting for the number 1 seed. It's funny, a lot of people are saying that they're not even going to win the division. We'll have to see. But I really think the Texans were already a good to great team last season. And now with the pieces that they've already have, now that they're just going to be more mature, older, and more experienced, they were already now going to edge up to great. And then they added some extra pieces that definitely put them to great to now flirting with elite. So as long as health is on their side and they don't get any of some of these like crazy, wonky, just bootleg losses that really kind of throw them for a loop, I legitimately see the Texans fighting for the number 1 seed. I'm not saying that they definitely will have it because I think the NFL is insanely competitive going into the season, which is why I've just never been more excited. But I think that they will definitely be up there. I think I can see this season going where it's going to be kind of crazy, where it's just going to be like one loss can drop you down from the number 1 seed down to the 4 seed. Like I can just see it being just such a tight race because I just think all of these teams have potential to really rack up some wins. And that's why I think it might come down to some of those fluke losses where you're like, oh my God, how did you lose to the Panthers? That was ridiculous. Like you just have no idea how the seasons will unfold. So, but yeah, no, it's interesting to see the hesitation around wanting to say if CJ Stroud is a great quarterback or not. I'm still hearing a lot of people legitimately say they don't think he's really that good, that he didn't really play that good last season, that the Texans weren't really that good, that they had a bad schedule, and that this year they're going to be playing a harder schedule and they're not going to be good, and he's going to come back down to earth. And it's going to be interesting to see where this ball lies. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think CJ Stroud is already a top 20 player? And do you think he'll be the second best quarterback in the NFL, like Nick said, starting next year? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.